Tonight, victory for Novak Djokovic, free to enter after a judge ordered his immediate release, his visa ban overturned, special live coverage.
Supermarket shortages force a COVID rule overhaul to restock the shelves.
Frustration as the first day of the children's vaccine rollout runs into supply issues.
A close call as a rogue driver rams a police car.
A pilot rescued seconds from disaster as a train ploughs through his plane.
And Omicron causing chaos in the AFL. 17 players from one club infected.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Rebecca Madden and Mike Amor.
Good evening. There's breaking news in the Novak Djokovic saga tonight, with a judge ordering his release from detention immediately.
The decision to overturn his visa ban was handed down just a short time ago. As it stands now, the world number one is clear to play in the Australian Open after a day of drama ended with a sensational legal victory.
Outside the federal court, news of a Djokovic win went off like a Grand Slam victory.
Let's go, Nolan, let's go!
How do you feel?
I feel amazing because he did everything by the books, and this just shows that he didn't go through any loopholes. He won.
Hours of legal argument ending with a simple decision. Border Force officers did not give Novak Djokovic enough time to consider his options when he was detained at Melbourne Airport last week, the court ordering his release from detention. This is not the end. The federal government retains the right to deport him.
I'm not supposed to be on this court. I'm supposed to be on Road Lava.
Inside the court, IT support was under the pump as thousands tried to log on around the world. A video stream of the hearing crashed repeatedly, but online just long enough for observers to hear the judge ask, what more could this man have done? It was in reference to Novak Djokovic getting 2 approved medical exemptions to play at Melbourne Park, plus an automated reply from a federal government website indicating he was likely to be allowed into Australia.
People are coming out just saying, I've had COVID. It's not enough. You have to be double vaxxed, and Mr Djokovic apparently isn't.
The world's best male tennis player says he felt pressured by Border Force officials at Melbourne Airport. Told he had time to contact lawyers and Tennis Australia, but then ordered to make an immediate decision to leave or go into immigration detention. It was abundantly clear Mr Djokovic wanted more time to understand what was going on.
We determine who enters the tournament in partnership with Tennis Australia. We don't determine who gets a visa.
It could not have been more clear.
The federal government asked today's hearing be pushed back 2 days. The judge said no.
The government lawyers now realise there's more in this than they thought, and they've got a real fight on their hands.
Please, God, let Djokovic wins.
The judge let him out temporarily to watch the court live stream at a secret location. 5 people were arrested at the Immigration Detention Hotel in Carlton. They climbed the building with this sign, calling the hotel the Oz Open for refugees. More than 30 asylum seekers will spend much longer in detention than Novak Djokovic.
100% Djokovic didn't make or break any rule.
In Serbia, another vigil for their national hero.
I think it's very political. I don't think it's fair.
Time ticks away. Tennis Australia needs to know by tomorrow if the tournament draw card will even be in that draw. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Serbian fans are rejoicing outside the federal court. Estelle Griepink is with them. Estelle, there could still be another twist in this.
Well, Mike, this bizarre political and legal fight isn't over yet, but fans here in Melbourne are taking this as a win, and they've just left the federal court to go on what I presume will be a victory lap around the city. The federal court has ordered Novak Djokovic be released from immigration detention, but in some breaking news, the immigration minister could take over from the Home Affairs minister and exercise a personal power to cancel his visa. And Mike, in tennis terms, it looks like this is going to a 5th set. Mike?
Estelle Griepink, thank you.
Novak Djokovic is set to leave the detention hotel in the Docklands. Hope Wilson is there. Hope, what's the latest? Well, after
after 4 nights, Novak Djokovic will be leaving this immigration detention hotel. The eyes of the world have been on this location here in Carlton, where it's currently housing refugees and asylum seekers. There have been protests since he arrived last Friday. Even this morning, 5 people were arrested after scaling the roof of the building, and those protests are continuing this evening. Now, during Novak Djokovic's 4 nights here, he hasn't been able to leave the hotel or his room, certainly interrupting his preparations for the tournament due to start in a week today. Now, Novak Djokovic has already taken out 9 Australian Open titles and is the favourite for this year's event. If he does win, it would make it his 21st Grand Slam, surpassing Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, making him the greatest male player of all time. So if he does pull off a victory at Melbourne Park, it'll certainly be hard to argue with that.
Yep. Hope Wilson, thank you.
This issue has caused diplomatic tension and protests in Djokovic's home. Sally Guyatt is in Belgrade for us. And Sally, this is the result his parents and his country had been demanding.
Oh, Mike, the people of Serbia have been turning out onto the streets here in Belgrade day in, day out, rallying, demanding that their beloved tennis superstar and the world #1 Novak Djokovic be let out and free to play. The court ruling that it was unreasonable that his visa was cancelled really echoes the sentiments that we've been hearing from family and fans in the last few days. Now, behind me is Novak's restaurant. This is where it's expected his parents are going to give a statement in the coming hours. But it's only just gone 8 o'clock in the morning here in Serbia. The people of Serbia are only just waking up to this news on a very cold -1 degree snowy morning, but you can be sure that that will do nothing to freeze over the celebrations and elation that will be sweeping this nation.
No doubt. Sally Guyatt, thank you.
Supermarket shortages have forced an overhaul of COVID isolation rules as supply faces a critical test. Sarah Jones has the latest for us. Sarah, it's a new plan to keep the shelves stocked.
Beck, these are the changes supermarket chains have been pleading for as they struggle to maintain supply because so many workers are in isolation. It means key staff will no longer have to isolate if they're a household contact of a positive case. With supermarket shelves bare, the government was forced to act to reduce the number of workers in COVID isolation and restore critical supply chains.
They're finding 30 to 50% absenteeism rate. It's huge, particularly in the distribution centre. They cannot operate.
From Thursday, asymptomatic food distribution, manufacturing and packaging staff can still attend work if a household member tests positive.
Exempted workers will be required to undertake daily rapid antigen tests for 5 days.
Rules that were written for one situation have to be reconsidered and redone again for Omicron.
The new rules could eventually extend to other industries like transport, aviation and hospitality.
We'd like to see those changes flow through to critical retail as quickly as possible, and then ideally through to broader retail.
The changes come as the Omicron surge intensifies with 161,065 active cases. That's 1 in 40 Victorians, and we haven't seen the worst of it.
We would expect the peak of Omicron cases to be in late January, early February.
Today, almost 35,000 new infections and, concerningly, hospital numbers have nearly doubled in a week. With only 17% of Victorians triple dosed, it's prompted the state government to introduce a new vaccine mandate. Eligible workers must secure a booster by February 12 if they work in healthcare, aged and disability care, emergency services, prisons, hotel quarantine and food distribution.
This is a sensible addition for the relatively high-risk nature that these sectors operate.
There are also changes to protect our most vulnerable. Hospital visitors must be double vaxxed or produce a negative rapid test before entering. Unvaccinated people must wear an N95 mask. In aged care, residents can still have 5 visitors a day, but only if they too test negative. And after clusters linked to nightclubs, dance floors in hospitality and entertainment venues will have to close, although weddings are exempt. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Supply problems have dogged the first day of the children's vaccine rollout. The shortages are frustrating parents and doctors, but the federal government insists there are enough doses to vaccinate all primary students before they go back to school.
After 2 years of living alongside the virus, our youngest Victorians know what to do.
It will help you stop getting COVID and you won't have a bad reaction to it.
Hundreds of brave 5 to 11-year-olds getting their first shot today at clinics across the state.
Can I have a high five?
Beautiful. Wonderful.
Since I'm vaccinated, I'm going to be able to go to France and see my family.
It only hurt like a tiny bit.
But today's rollout was far from smooth.
Sorry, I'm going to have to cancel the immunisation for your little boy.
More than 50 children had to be turned away from this Baldwin practice. Dr. Marianne Lancaster ordered doses on December 12, but they didn't arrive in time.
When we're cancelling clinics, our receptionists are going to be the ones who are abused because the patients are frustrated and they're anxious. They want to get their kids vaccinated. No one will correspond with us. No one will give us any indication. So we are working blind.
It's a story echoed by other GPs and pharmacists.
All my colleagues are clamming around. We're getting phone calls. Have you got them? Have you got them? Are you getting it? Can we borrow some if you've got some? I hope it's out there somewhere and it's on a DHL truck ready to come to us.
This pharmacy in the CBD may run out of vaccines by the end of this week, but the federal government denies there are supply issues, saying there are currently 800,000 doses in pharmacies and clinics right around the country.
There is enough paediatric doses in the country to offer every 5 to 11-year-old a first dose before they commence school.
National Cabinet will meet on Thursday to discuss whether the start of Term 1 should be delayed across the country due to rising Omicron cases.
Our objective is go back, stay back, day 1, Term 1.
Students cannot afford more lost face-to-face learning when we've had the longest lockdowns in the world.
Estelle Grieping, 7 News.
New South Wales recorded 18 COVID deaths overnight. There were more than 20,000 new cases with 2,000 COVID patients in hospital. Queensland added just over 9,500 cases with a surge on the Gold Coast.
We have over 500,000 active cases at the moment. That is a very different situation to even a few weeks ago.
The Northern Territory has 404 new cases and Western Australia has just 3, all in quarantine.
And Omicron is causing new chaos in the AFL, sending dozens of infected stars into isolation.
Well, Collingwood alone is missing 17 players for the resumption of pre-season training as the virus spreads through the clubs.
Day 1 back on track.
Paddy Cripps here, first session back. It's a beautiful day.
But a COVID cloud still hovers over the AFL.
Change legs, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Omicron spreading so fast across Melbourne, it kept 17 players away from Collingwood's first training session back. Star power was missing from Richmond too, although Dustin Martin made a welcome return after his heartbreaking off-season.
Get attack, get attack, get attack. Come on, Joe.
Essendon's captain was almost forced to do a head count.
Including staff and coaches in the works as well. We had 20-odd, I reckon.
Dyson Heppel says he's dodged the virus so far.
Guys have handled it really well and have been really clear in protocols and I guess taking all measures to try and keep everyone safe and healthy here as well.
New protocols were introduced to the AFLW last week, limiting players from socialising with each other in the home and also attending high-density areas. But the AFL says it has no plans to take further action for its players, given the season is still more than 2 months away. AFLW clubs can add up to 10 players as cover for COVID. The league yet to make a call on the men's competition.
You see in world sport around the world, the teams that are handling it the best and staying healthy are at the top of the ladder and winning.
Laura Spurway, 7 News.
2 police officers have survived close calls when their patrol car was rammed in the western suburbs. It was just one part of a wild crime spree that included a narrow escape for a pedestrian.
The moment a stolen Holden Commodore rams a police van in a Bunnings car park.
It was certainly severe impact to the police vehicle and they just had a wanton disregard for the safety of anyone.
2 officers had followed the car. One was almost hit. His colleague was in the van as it was rammed a second time.
Thankfully, my members aren't injured.
A witness told 7 News they saw the car almost hit a pedestrian as it sped off.
Quite scary that someone else, it could have been a lot more serious than what it was.
Just half an hour later, police say a person in the same car attacked someone with a hockey stick in Werribee, here at the Princess Freeway overpass.
What the circumstances surrounding that road rage, we don't know at this stage.
The car had been stolen from Dandenong and was found abandoned nearby. Detectives are now on the hunt for 2 men and a woman. Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
The daring rescue we're about to show you has to be seen to be believed.
It shows how a pilot was pulled from the wreck of a plane just seconds before it was hit by a train.
Close calls don't come much closer. A crashed plane on the tracks. Look again, closer. As the train races towards them, police are saving the pilot. And this is how it looked to them. Caught on body cam as that horn blasted, they desperately try to free the trapped man. Every life here in mortal danger.
Go, 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 go!
From rescue to wreck was just 5 seconds.
Go, 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 go!
Los Angeles police in a scene straight out of Hollywood.
Watching it on a video when being a captain and knowing that my officers could have been struck by that train trying to save somebody's life, it's definitely emotional.
Apart from cuts and bruises to the pilot, all involved are okay. After losing power shortly after takeoff at a nearby airport, he made an emergency landing in the worst possible place. Saved by police with the best possible timing. Paul Caddock, 7 News.
Australian sport is mourning the loss of legendary golfer Bob Shearer, who died suddenly yesterday at the age of 73. Shearer famously beat Jack Nicklaus and Payne Stewart to win the 1982 Australian Open. He won 27 tournaments during a career spanning 4 decades and is tonight being remembered as a giant of the game.
All right, and Andrew McCormack is here for a look ahead at sport, hey?
Macca, a Victorian could be the hard luck story of the Ashes.
Well, that's all right, Mike. Selectors have a pretty tough call to make as the Ashes Roadshow rolls into Tasmania, but not without some drama. We'll explain the hiccups shortly. Plus, could an incredible comeback help the Bombers break their 6,000-day finals drought? And, guys, an Aussie golfing star has gone where no other golfer has ever gone before on the PGA Tour. We'll have more on that shortly.
OK, thanks, Macca. There's been a home fire emergency in Melbourne's southeast. Details next on 7 News.
Plus, a mortgage bonus, a silver lining in tough times for millions of Australians buying a home.
Also tonight, skiers injured in a freak accident, trapped and blasted with freezing water.
The sudden death of a TV family favourite.
Turkey extra turkey, turkey half dark meat, half white meat, and peanut butter and banana hold the turkey.
And later, parents facing a hip pocket hit as children head back to school.
A Glen Iris house used by squatters has gone up in flames. Worried neighbours watched as the roof collapsed, too dangerous for firefighters to enter.
We've been dealing with this house for nearly 5 years. It's been full of squatters who come and go.
No body was found inside the building, which has been declared a crime scene. Well, new data shows the average Australian homeowner is almost 4 years ahead on their mortgage repayments. Record low interest rates and reduced spending during the pandemic have created a once-in-a-generation opportunity to get ahead.
More than 5 million Australians have a mortgage. For most, it's the biggest debt they'll ever take on. But many are now closer than ever to paying it off.
We've seen nothing like this before.
New data shows the average borrower with a principal and interest loan is now 45 months or almost 4 years ahead on their repayments, up from 32 months in March 2020. While those with interest-only loans are 52 months ahead, up from 44 at the start of the pandemic.
I don't think we've ever been this far ahead in terms of the repayment schedule.
Record low interest rates and limited spending during lockdowns, giving people the chance to pump more money into their home loans.
It does feel like a once-in-a-generation opportunity to get ahead.
Mortgage offset accounts have also grown by a staggering $50 billion over the past 2 years, the average increasing from $77,000 to almost $100,000. Savings made possible, the government says, by programs such as JobKeeper.
Which basically means there's a lot of firepower there in the Australian economy and in households that is there to be released.
But with the cost of living outstripping wages growth, economists say the jury's out on when mortgage holders will be happy to open their wallets again.
I think consumers are pretty cautious right now. There's a lot of nervousness about the Omicron variant and whether there's more to come.
With predictions rather than spending, many will continue overpaying on their home loans. For now. Rob Scott, 7 News.
Several skiers have been injured when a water line burst below their chairlift. One was caught right above it, blasted relentlessly with freezing water. 2 people were taken to hospital for their injuries. The ski resort says a guest had skied into a water and air hydrant, causing the geyser. American comedian Bob Saget has been found dead in a Florida hotel room just hours after he'd been on stage. The Full House dad became one of the world's biggest stars during the 90s. His friends and fans shocked by his sudden death, aged 65.
Bob Saget was America's TV dad for close to a decade as Danny Tanner on Full House.
Gentlemen, Tarzan, who was raised in the jungle by apes, went to bed in better shape than that baby.
The family favourite was also the longtime host of America's Funniest Home Videos. His voice, well known too.
Kids, I'm going to tell you an incredible story. The story of how I met your mother.
Saget had his demons, which he didn't shy away from during a recurring role on Entourage.
Don't take it personally, Johnny. I was so whacked out on Vikes and Halcyon during the 90s, I don't remember shit.
More recently, Saget was on tour, the often crass comedian performing in Jacksonville just hours before he was found dead in a Florida hotel room. His final tweet: loved tonight's show. His body was found by hotel security in Orlando. Orange County sheriffs confirming there were no signs of foul play or drug use. Today, Hollywood paid tribute. From Russell Crowe, kind, funny, generous, and former Full House co-star John Stamos, I am broken, I am gutted. I love you so much, Bobby.
You're the greatest dad in the whole world.
In the United States, Smiley Hogan, 7 News.
Australians have won big at the 79th Golden Globe Awards. Nicole Kidman took out Best Actress in a drama for her portrayal of Lucille Ball in Being the Ricardos. During the event that wasn't televised, Succession star Sarah Snook was also a winner, while Cody Smith-McPhee won Best Supporting Actor for The Power of the Dog. The awards have been largely shunned by the stars after a string of controversies. Well, it has been a very humid day in Melbourne today.
Jane Bunner's here, and Jane, just how long will it last?
Well, Mike, Beck, we are having another taste of Queensland-like weather, and the tropical feel will be sticking with us all through the week. With moisture in the air, it can't cool down overnight. We began the day on 15. Now, once the foggy low cloud cleared out, the bright sunshine, it was steamy. The city reached a top of 31 late this afternoon. If you're further south and near the water, not as hot. Point Cook was 25. Hastings, Phillip Island 24. Have a look at Torquay, 13 degrees less than Watsonia's 35. Today we look to our west to see what is on the way. There is a large area of cloud south of Adelaide. Now that will have thunderstorms in it. I'll have the full details after Sport, Beck.
Thank you very much, Jane. Well, tradies are in demand in Victoria.
And it's pushing prices through the roof. They're flat out and hard to find. Up next, what's happening and what you can do about it.
Plus stories of survival as Queensland cleans up after a flood emergency.
Disaster in New York, 19 killed, including children, as an apartment building goes up in flames.
And the Lamb ad roasting Australian life during the pandemic.
homemade bomb has been found during a raid on a house at Footscray. Police say they were executing a warrant this morning when they located an explosive device. They cordoned off the area and the bomb squad was called in. A man in his 30s has been arrested. Finding a tradie and affording one is becoming increasingly difficult thanks to the surge in popularity for home renovations. Electricians, plumbers and brickies are in such high demand that jobs can't be filled.
Cashed-up homeowners are causing chaos for the building industry.
In over 24 years, I've never seen demand at Horahubby as high as it is right now. In all my 30 years, 40 years in business, I've never seen anything like this.
Demand is far outweighing supply and services available.
Australians spend $55 billion a year on international travel, and this has been obviously curtailed. And what are they spending it on? They're spending it on new homes, home renovations and home maintenance.
Last year, gyms had more than 328,000 jobs they couldn't get to.
Which is 36% of all leads received, which is actually unprecedented.
Fencing was one of the most in-demand jobs, 87% of requests not done.
The demand for fencing is so astronomical that you just charge what you need to charge and you'll get the job. Certainly we've encouraged them to raise them by, say, 10% if they're very busy, because the market will stand it. There's definitely inflationary pressure on pricing for a number of reasons.
The labour shortage is one of the main reasons for the rising costs. There weren't enough tradies even before the pandemic, and it's worse now as demand soars. Material costs are also going up and tradies are getting paid very well.
Bricklayers, in some instances, have nearly doubled in price simply because there's a shortage.
The biggest job now, filling vacant positions.
You can make $100 an hour building fences.
Hope Wilson, 7 News.
Queensland's summer of wild weather has rolled on, with Tropical Cyclone Tiffany making landfall this afternoon. As floodwaters peak and residents clean up, incredible stories of survival are emerging.
On the outskirts of Maryborough, suburbs are surrounded by water.
We've been through several floods before, so we are prepared.
While in Maryborough's CBD, relief. Floodwaters peaked at 9.6 metres, but a barrier through the middle of town spared most businesses.
I came in, I was like, phew.
Not everyone was so lucky. Mother of 7, Kim Ward, has been left homeless.
We got our valuables, but everything else we lost.
The Mary River is still raging, proving too powerful for this boat, while police risk their lives saving these teens playing in the water. The father and daughter were rescued after clinging to a tree for 2 days.
He did say a couple of snakes tried to join him on the tree, so he had to flick those off.
Giving police hope in the search for a 14-year-old girl missing since Saturday.
This is going to take some time. We are taking this extremely seriously.
While in the state's far north, Tropical Cyclone Tiffany made landfall this afternoon.
We could see some isolated falls in that 200 to 300 millimetre range.
Matthew Carstunen, 7 News.
A bedroom heater is being blamed for sparking an apartment block inferno that's claimed 19 lives in New York. 9 children among those killed as flames spread throughout the building.
It's 2 fires on 2 different floors.
Very heavy smoke, very heavy fire.
Oh my God, people just screaming.
32 residents are fighting for life in hospital.
Alec Baldwin is hitting back at claims he's not complying with investigators over the deadly shooting on his movie set. In a new video to fans, he calls the allegations a lie.
The best way, the only way we can honour the death of Helena Hutchins is to find out the truth. That's what I'm working toward, insisting on, demanding.
There are claims the star won't hand over his phone, but Baldwin says the process of retrieving evidence between states takes time. Australians are turning to technology to protect themselves against COVID-19. Air quality monitors are proving popular to warn users when they're at greatest risk of contracting the virus.
Face masks, sanitizer and rapid antigen tests. 3 tools at the top of our anti-COVID shopping lists. But one other safety measure is gaining momentum.
Carbon dioxide monitors are a really simple, effective way for us to know if a space is poorly ventilated or well ventilated.
This tiny device detects just how fresh the air is around you. The higher the reading, the lower the airflow, and the greater the risk of you contracting COVID.
Measuring indoor air quality is one of those crucial, tools in your toolbox, in addition to N95 masks or respirators, which are a high degree of mask, which is going to help protect you from airborne transmission.
It's one of our many gadgets being used to protect ourselves during the pandemic, including monitors, oximeters, and air purifiers, particularly in businesses and schools.
And I can't stress the importance of trying to maintain ventilation, keep windows and doors open, and ensure that you've got that free flow of air.
We need to be doing everything we can to keep them safe, and safe indoor air quality and low carbon dioxide concentrations inside schools is a crucial part of that.
Strategies as simple as keeping the window open. Bill Hogan, 7 News.
Well, it's time for the dreaded back-to-school shopping.
Parents are facing supply issues as well. Next, a special report on getting the best deals on technology. Plus, the latest on Novak Djokovic as a court rules he should be freed from detention.
And the annual lamb ad is out. Who's in the firing line this Australia Day? Our new summer lamb ad is caught in controversy again with a dig at Australia's COVID response. Sam Kekovich is enlisting Australians to spark up their Barbies to send a smoke signal to the world.
A tongue-in-cheek tale of 2021 when Australia did what a lamb chop can't, cut itself off.
Let the world know we're still here.
How? That's it. Lamb. COVID jokes aplenty in this meaty campaign.
Just got to get all of Australia on board somehow.
Well, at least 80% of them.
I know a guy.
A national lamb rollout? About bloody time.
These annual productions always carry controversy.
It's been dubbed violent. It's been dubbed offensive.
Vegans get a break this year.
Oh, look, the French are here.
Instead, we get political commentary.
President Biden has congratulated that fella down under
for reuniting Australia with the rest of the world.
From global to state politics.
Perfect.
WA's premier, the butt of all jokes.
I don't know. We're the only one without COVID, so I'll take that any day.
The most significant part of the Australian DNA is our level of irreverence. Who would take umbrage and who would take it seriously?
Jokes aside.
Well, the biggest issue now is getting stock from the paddock to the barbecue, with breaks in the supply chain because of, you guessed it, COVID, the very subject this entire campaign revolves around.
Everyone's moving sort of heaven and earth to try and get that product there.
Tom Hartley, 7 News.
With just 3 weeks until kids return to the classroom, the rush is on for those back-to-school essentials. Books, stationery and lunchboxes will all cost a little less this year. But the news isn't so good for big-ticket items like iPads and computers.
The school shopping spree is on and many will have to dig deep.
It does all add up at the beginning of at the beginning of the school year.
Nationwide, parents will spend around $2.5 billion to get their kids ready for school. General supplies like uniforms, books and stationery will cost $526 for every child, $66 less than last year. But they'll fork out $320 on technology devices.
Parents are happy to spend extra when they see the value in some of the extra models.
Many retailers are offering discounts. Harvey Norman slashing up to 10% on Microsoft Surface laptops for students. Computers at JB Hi-Fi going on sale this Thursday, and Officeworks has price beat guarantees.
On an approved school list, if they find the products they need cheaper elsewhere, we'll beat that by 20%.
While retailers have experienced supply chain issues during the pandemic, they still say there will be plenty of stock available before school heads back. The advice is to start shopping now to find what you're looking for at the lowest price.
You can save a lot of money on things like lunchboxes, water bottles. They're very losable items.
For those, it could be worth buying too. Angelique Opie, 7 News.
Yeah, lots of losable items in our house. The Aussies in England are about to touch down for a historic Ashes test.
Yeah, Anna McCormack, it wasn't a smooth trip to Tassie, though.
No, it hardly was, Beck, rather. Yeah. Plenty of dramas caused for both sides today, but the axe he's hanging over one Aussie will cross live to Hobart next for the latest. Plus, the young bomber who's already wowing the skipper, while a familiar face is back at Tigerland, and Aussie golfer Cam Smith rewrites the record books in Hawaii. Welcome back to breaking news on the Novak Djokovic saga, and Blake Johnson joins us live. And Blake, there's a big police presence at Djokovic's lawyer's office.
Macca, this situation seems to be developing by the minute. We know that Novak Djokovic's lawyer's office on Collins Street has seen one of those white vans go into the basement there, those white vans synonymous with transport to and from the immigration detention hotel that Mr Djokovic has been staying at. As you mentioned, a large police presence there in the basement as well. There are unconfirmed reports that the Serbian Chamber of Commerce has claimed that the Australian Federal Police are going there to re-arrest Novak Djokovic. This could be because the Immigration Minister retains the right to make a discretionary call on Novak Djokovic's visa, taking over rather, from the Home Affairs Minister who was running the court case today that saw Novak Djokovic's cancelled visa quashed. So the drama continues. We know that he has until tomorrow to nominate for the Australian Open draw. Seems to be a bit happening before we find out if that's going to be the case.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Blake Johnson there, and of course 7 News will keep you updated on that unfolding story throughout the evening. To cricket now, and it's been a day of drama for the Australian and English Test squads. Seven's Matt Carmichael is in Hobart all this week ahead of the 5th Test. And Matty, there's some more headaches for the Aussie selectors.
Oh, Andrew, headaches for selectors and some anxious nights ahead for Marcus Harris, unfortunately. Those twin tons from Usman Khawaja and the virtual guarantee from Pat Cummins that Uzi must stay might force Harris out, yeah. But there is more drama. Frustration for both teams. They're hours late arriving into Hobart, thanks to, as you said it, good old COVID. Delays at Sydney Airport caused by COVID meant a late departure for both teams. Last night, precious family time. Partners and children joined players after that dramatic draw. Man of the match Usman Khawaja capping daughter Aisha. The biggest kid, Dave Warner, keen to get a laugh. Khawaja a chance to open with his fellow father in Hobart.
He could replace any batter 1 to 6.
A one-off recall to replace the COVID-affected Travis Head turned into history-making twin hundreds. Although not a selector, the captain's convinced Khawaja's now a lock for Hobart.
If someone comes out and hits twin hundreds, it's pretty hard to go past him for the week after, I think. I think he played beautifully.
Also among Australia's top run scorers, Head's return from COVID means someone misses out. Most likely, an unlucky Marcus Harris.
Marcus is an amazing character within the group. He'll be disappointed he didn't get runs in this game, and he had a great opportunity. I felt like he batted and lined the ball up beautifully when I was watching in isolation.
More casualties for England. Joss Butler sent home with a fractured finger. Ben Stokes battling a side strain. Johnny Bairstow a suspected broken thumb. It hasn't been an English summer at all, but for Hobart's historic first Ashes and pink ball test, they're greeted by cold and grey tonight. At least Joe Root and his men might finally feel at home. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Still on cricket, and the Melbourne Stars say they have their buzz back for tonight's clash with the Strikers after a nightmare week with COVID. 9 players return tonight against Adelaide at the MCG with their finals hopes on the line.
Even just the vibe in the change room, the energy that guys who play every game bring, it's just a much better feeling to be around a group that you've been playing with for the last couple of years.
Earlier, Alex Hales blasted an unbeaten 80 as the Thunder lost the Big Bash boost point, but won their match against the Hurricanes after chasing down the 140-run target with 16 balls to spare. The Bombers are holding out hope that Michael Hurley will make a remarkable comeback from injury this season. But as Hurley bides his time for the start of the season at least, a potential star of the future is already making a big impact at Tullamarine. Doctors say Michael Hurley is lucky to even be walking again after a hip infection, and while a round 1 comeback is out of the question, the prospect of playing footy in 2022 is a real possibility.
He's progressing well, actually. He's particularly over the last probably 6 weeks. He's made some great inroads. He's sort of the heart and soul of this club.
With almost half the Bombers list in isolation, many as a result of Hurley's New Year's wedding, the captain is fit and firing.
She's been a while since I've been cracking in sort of pre-Christmas and had a nice break and able to train properly.
Dyson Heppel has taken first-round draft pick Ben Hobbs under his wing.
He's really impressed, actually. You know, he's come in, he's ready-made, strong body, taking a couple of blokes on in tackles and things like that, so it's good to see. He lived with me for a couple of weeks. He's horrible on the dishes, and I had to show him where the dishwasher was a number of times, but he'll get better at that.
Collingwood seemed largely unaffected by the COVID chaos in comparison. Scott Pendlebury back to near full fitness after a second leg fracture sidelined him before Christmas. Jack Riewoldt spent the first half of pre-season back home in Tasmania due to border closures. The 33-year-old welcomed back to Punt Road with a time trial. Dustin Martin, as usual, at the front of the pack. And the worst news confirmed for two of the AFLW's biggest stars. Season-ending ACL ruptures for both Brianna Davey and Izzy Huntington. While Novak Djokovic has his battles in court, his great rival Rafael Nadal is gathering momentum ahead of the Australian Open. Rafa won his first tournament in Australia since 2009 last night, defeating American Maxime Cressy in the final of the Melbourne Somerset. His 89th title is one of his sweetest, having just recovered from a foot injury and COVID.
Coming from where we are coming is very special, no? So super happy for that. Tonight I think I played my best match so far.
Canada defeated Spain at the Sydney Olympic Park last night to win the ATP Cup Teams event for the first time. And Cameron Smith has jumped to number 10 in the world golf rankings with a record-breaking performance in Hawaii. The Aussie had a flawless final round at the Tournament of Champions, holding off world number 1 Jon Rahm to shoot a staggering 34 under for the tournament, the lowest from anyone ever on the PGA Tour.
And there it is. Cam Smith is the first PGA Tour winner in 2022.
Mate, it was intense. We spoke about it earlier in the day. We wanted to get to 35 under. We missed it by 1. Yeah, unreal round. Something I'll never forget for sure.
And if that wasn't enough, fellow Aussie Matt Jones recorded the lowest ever 36-hole score with rounds of 62 and 61. He was just 2 shots off Smith, finishing third. That's all for sport, guys.
Nice work. Thank you so much. Well, Jane returns now with a forecast. Jane, how does it look tomorrow?
Well, it is looking like we may need the umbrella in the morning. There we are, the beach gear in the afternoon. Now, I'll have all those changeable weather details next. Hello again. We've had a steamy day in Melbourne. Fog cleared out to sunshine and the temperature absolutely climbed. Now, sorry about that, all the way up to 31 in the city. We're in a humid air mass. It's likely to remain with us for the rest of the week. Now, that means warm days and warm nights as well, and the risk of more thunderstorms, the black indicating the nights that we're going to have. Today brought a range of weather across our state. Fairly clear at first, then cloud built from all angles. Storms are in the cloud that is up near the northwestern border where it's hit 40 degrees. And there are a few thunderstorms up on the eastern ranges in through here too. Under the cloud over the southwest, that is the beginning of our next big weather system. Cyclone Tiffany has crossed the coast up on Cape York. Rain from that will feature in our weather later in the week. Our next bit of wet weather though is from the 2 troughs that are near us. We have areas of rain and heavy thunderstorms. That's likely to move across parts of the state tonight and tomorrow. Now, most of the heavier falls this time are likely to be in northern Victoria. On Wednesday, most of us take a bit of a break, but thick cloud and showers are left over for Gippsland here. Then it ramps up again to end the week. The next trough sweeps through. This one has that feed of moisture from the cyclone. So if you get a thunderstorm, it could be torrential. Now, this will gradually pass through on Thursday and Friday. So we do have a big week ahead. Around the nation tomorrow, just the odd morning shower in Brisbane. There's lots of sunshine there. Also fairly sunny in Sydney and 29. There's a slight risk of an afternoon shower or storm. Those storms are more likely in Canberra. They could be severe there. Hobart is dry. Adelaide, both humid and very hot, while Perth has dry heat. To Victoria, morning fog about Gippsland, but otherwise these areas of rain with hit and miss thunderstorms. They'll clear northeastwards with sunshine returning in behind that. Now, storms may be severe in northern parts, less likely in the south. Closer in there, maybe rain and thunderstorms across these northern suburbs in the morning. And we're all grey before lunch tomorrow. But then it'll rapidly change like we saw today. Bright sunshine returns for the afternoon. It is steamy and warm. The city has a grey morning with a light spit of rain. Then the afternoon is sunny. We're humid. We've got a moderate southeasterly wind. And that humidity means there is nothing cold out there. We start the day on 19 and it reaches 29. To the 8-day outlook, Wednesday has no wet weather at all. A mix of sunshine and some cloud, and it's still humid. Another top of 29 with those warm nights as well. On Thursday, that's when our next wet weather returns. Mostly dry during the morning. In the afternoon, we're looking at rain and thunderstorms developing. I'm expecting the heaviest falls to be into the evening and the early hours of Friday morning. Still hot, still humid. That'll gradually ease during the day on Friday. It should be quite dry across the weekend, a fair bit of sunshine and cooler next week. 29 tomorrow, humid. Northern suburbs might need an umbrella in the morning, guys.
Lots happening in the weather and your graphic. Welcome back. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you. Be better tomorrow. Thanks, Jay.
And that's 7 News for this Monday.
For now, from the 7 News team, good night.